Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And if you just slid by and decided to click on because of the title, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And share, why don't you? Today's story time is just like it said. Fake friends left me when we had to evacuate for a storm. And if you know, we're from New Orleans. When they say evacuate, mandatory, it means mandatory, get out. So if you want to hear what happened and if I got out, stay tuned. Hi, if you stuck around and you want to hear about this story time on how my fake friends left me for a hurricane evacuation. Now, I have to give you some backstories and some key points in this story before we start, okay? First, my husband was out of town. I know I'm always traveling with hubby, but he was out of the country. He was out of town. He was not out of the country. He was out of town. So he was, because they didn't know where the storm was coming or not. So his company had him out of town. And every time a storm would happen, my mom would wait for nobody. She'd get on the phone, call. We from Louisiana, so when a storm happens, it's time to run, okay? And that's how she was. She wasn't waiting on them to declare the mandatory evacuation. She was just ready to go before it even got to that point. That way you're not in any traffic, you're just good to go. Okay. And this storm that my fake friends left me, it happened right 2 years after Hurricane Katrina. Okay, so what happened was my mom, for Hurricane Katrina, my mom had called and she was like, I was actually in class. I was taking a class at a university in New Orleans, and she called. She was like, "Come on downstairs, get your bags. We pulling out." And I'm like, "Mama, my professor is not like," because my professor was not. Other classes was leaving. My professor was like, "Nope, nope." And this was for Hurricane Katrina, and actually the whole school got totally demolished doing it. But he was not letting us leave at that point until finally the dean of that department had to come down and say, everybody is gone, we shutting it down, you need to shut it down now. And he was like, all right, but when we come back, y'all gonna be swamped with work. Well, we didn't come back, so there you go. And so that's how serious the storms get in New Orleans. When they say time to go, it's time to go. So shout out to Mama, rest in peace, Mama. You are definitely missed. Because I know when it's time to run, because I don't watch the news, she was always my news break. I just be like listening for other people to say they're leaving. That's all. But this particular storm, Mama was here still. And she called me 2 days prior for them giving a mandatory evacuation. And she was like, hey, pack your stuff, we about to go. And I was like, nah, Ma, I ain't going nowhere. I was on the phone actually earlier with some friends, and they were like, girl, this storm is going to turn, blah, blah, blah. Again, I don't watch the news. So I'm like, okay, And they were like, and if it do come, we're going to make a girls trip out of it. It's going to be everything. And I was like, okay, yeah. But y'all don't think the storm coming? I don't think it is either. My mama run anyway. She'll run, and if it don't come, she'll be like, that's fine. And she'll turn back around. She'll be like, nah, I'm good. I'm just making sure I'm out of here. But in this storm, so she was like, we leaving tomorrow. And this was like, it was 2 days out from them even saying how close it was coming, if it was turning, or what it was going to do. So she was like, if you coming, you need to get your bags, because I know your husband not here. We don't have any kids. So she was like, you don't want to be left by yourself. And I was like, Mama, it's fine. You could go ahead and go. I'm going to be good. She said, well, your dad's staying too. So y'all could stay if you need to, because I didn't live too far from my mom's house. She was like, if you need to come around here, y'all can hunker down. If the storm decide it's coming, y'all can hunker down together, and decide if it gets too bad, y'all can get on the road, but we don't. I was like, okay, no problem. So, again, I'm in my mid 30s. So, I'm like, I don't know why mama got to baby us, like, because she called my brother. My brother was like, Mom, I'm coming. He runs, my mama was running. My other brother was like, yeah, I might pack up my kids because he lives in a lower part of Louisiana that they mostly have to evacuate all the time. So he was like, yeah, Mom, I might, follow y'all and get out as well. And my sister, she was like, she lived 3 hours away. She lived more in Mississippi, but northern Mississippi. So she was like, y'all could come by me. I'm only 3 hours away. And my mom was like, nope, that's too close. I'm headed on up. So she, mama, coordinated to let everybody know where everybody was going if they were following her. She was like, but she told my sister, she was like, but your crazy sister staying home. So, her and your crazy daddy, they both crazy. They can stay here and swim if they want. But, they have the option. They can ride 3 hours because you're close. If they have to get out here, they can head 3 hours towards you. So she was like, okay. So then my brother called me back. Not the one that was going with my mom. My other brother called. And he was like, you staying home? Well, I'm going to stay home too. So he was like, I'm going to just stay home. But he has 3 kids and his wife. He was like, we're going to stay home and hunker down too. I said, okay. So we hang up the phone. Everything is all good. Again, it's 2 days out. I'm sorry. It wasn't 2 days. It was 3 days out. It was 3 days out. And Mama got a late start because usually she gone 4 days out. But it was 3 days out, and it was because the storm had took a turn. But it really wasn't a for sure turn. So she was gone. It was 3 days out. So fast forward, me and my friends sitting on the phone talking or whatever the next day. And the next day, they got on the news and they were like, okay, look like the storm is definitely coming towards us. Okay, now it's 2 days out. So now it's becoming a voluntary evacuation. That was that morning. So, and the only reason I heard it was a voluntary evacuation is because I was at work. And I went to work that day. Nobody was, closing everything. Well, when it became a voluntary evacuation, my boss was like, everybody go home, bunker down, watch the news, because it's a voluntary evacuation, and we can't hold anybody here if y'all need to go. But just watch the news because I think it's heading our way. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So I said, well, I'm going to just head on home or whatever. So we all leave work, whatnot, and actually we got there that morning. They did a voluntary evacuation about 10 to 11 o'clock that morning. So I'm getting on the phone talking to my friends, and my mom called. She was like, y'all need to get out of there. It's not looking good. I'm like, Ma, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I click over to talk to my friend on the phone because we just gossiping, girl talking and stuff like that. And she was like, girl, it's now a mandatory evacuation. I was like, what? She was like, yes, it is coming this way. I was like, oh my goodness. She was like, so look, this is what we gonna do. She was like, y'all can all ride with me. She was like, I'm gonna call the other girls, because we're doing a girls trip, a girls thing. And she had 3 kids. She was like, my kids are going to be with me. The other girls, nobody else had kids but her. So she was like, oh, goodness, I'm scared. I was like, we ain't tripping. We going to be good. I was like, at the most, we could just ride. We don't have to drive because we was going to drive to Texas. I was like, we could stop in Jackson, Mississippi with my sister, and then we could head over. She was like, that's what we going to do. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm still driving home, on the phone with her, and we making plans and everything. We super excited, and she was like, "Well, you know what? I can't get to my bank because the banks are starting to close. I don't have an ATM card." She was like, "Can I come meet you? Because I need to put gas." Because she was like, "I need to put gas in my car, and I need to." She said, I need to put gas in my car, and, I'm going to get some snacks and stuff, and we're going to be all good. I was like, girl, yeah, come meet me, because actually I'm about to put gas in my car, too. That way, even though I'm going to leave my car here, I'd rather have a full tank of gas. And she was like, why you need to do all that? Like, you ride with me. And I was like, girl, it's just something plus my dad's home. He's right not too far from my house. And I don't know if he's going to put gas in his car. So at least I'll have a full tank of gas in my car if he decides to evacuate and, decide to go, because we going to roll. And my car will be here full tank of gas because they start running out of gas and gas stations start closing down once it becomes a mandatory evacuation. And she was like, yeah. She was like, I need to meet you like ASAP. And I was like, yeah, come on. So I go pump my gas, and I'm calling her to see where she is. And she was like, just meet me by your house and, just give. And I was like, well, you know what? I have $200 in cash actually with me right now. So I don't have to go to the ATM machine or nothing like that. And I'll just give you that. And then, tomorrow or whatever, we'll stop, on the road or whatever and get whatever. That way I don't have to go run to the bank or run to the ATM, because I had filled up my card. It started being like pandemonium. Once they do a mandatory evacuation, like people just start going crazy. Like, people start getting waters off the shelf, stuff like that. So I wanted to meet her to give her the cash so she can do whatever she needs to do. She said she wanted to get snacks and stuff like that. And the stores just get crazy. Just the gas stations get crazy. They start running out of gas. It just gets crazy. So it was still early for me. So when I got gas, it wasn't like lines and nothing like that. But I know ATM start running out of cash and all that. So luckily I had $200 cash on me, and I don't know why, because I never carry cash on me, but I happen to have this $200 cash on me. And because I really didn't want to go to the bank, I didn't want to get in those lines, all that. I wanted to get home, get my stuff packed up, make sure I lock down everything in my house, because it just gets crazy. So I wanted to do that. Plus I wanted to go meet my dad and tell him, you know what, I'm leaving, and my car is going to be here if you need it, and things like that. And I wanted to make sure he was straight. If I had to run and fight the grocery stores for him or whatever, I could do that. But he had it covered. So, I wanted to do all that. Like, I still had a lot of little running that I wanted to do since we decided we were going to go. Plus, it's a girls trip evacuation. So, like, when you evacuate with just the family, you just throwing some sweats, some t-shirts, and you like, you know what, let's just get out of here and get to higher ground. It is what it is. But when you're doing a girls trip evacuation, like, you going to party, you going to find the clubs, you going to, you just going to make it a little extra. You're going to make it a real trip. Okay? So went ahead and started doing all the little stuff that I needed to do and I met up with her, gave her the money, and then I went around, to check on my dad, and got to my dad's house, and his sister and them lived not too far, and they had his suitcase on the bed, and I'm gonna call my mom. I said, did Daddy say he's evacuating? She said, I thought he might have left with his sister. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, well, you know what? I'm evacuating too. I'm leaving with my friends and we rolling out. She was like, okay, good. I said, okay. So I go back home and I call her and I was like, what time we leaving? She was like, I'm not going to leave tonight because I'm thinking we're leaving that day. So I called her because after I did my running, I got back home. I got back home actually because I left work about 10. Time I got back home from, just doing all the little things I needed to do, and I got back home, it was about 1 or 2 o'clock. So I got back home and finally, because I like to take out all food because lights go out, things like that. I like to take food out the refrigerator, things like that. I just like to just get everything prepped, So I did all that, and then I called her after I packed my bag and stuff. I called, and she was like, hey, girl. I was like, hey, what time, you want to roll out for? And she was like, let's roll out 5 in the morning. She was like, that way, the people that's not leaving tonight, then they'll be getting on the road 5 in the, we get on the road 5 in the morning, because most people for the day before the mandatory evacuation, because the storm is not supposed to hit until not tomorrow, but the next day, early in the morning. So wee hours in the morning. So we can roll out at 5 and we'll be out of harm's way. I said, okay, cool, that works for me. She was like 5 in the morning. I said, okay, cool. So when she said that, I said, okay. So I went. I said, well, I'm gonna just go and get into to the grocery store stuff so I could get dinner for tonight, since we're not leaving tonight. So because I had to throw out all my food because I was like, I didn't know we were leaving that day. So I went ahead and I went and got in the line at the store. It was pandemonium, and I stood in the line. I didn't get home till almost 7:30 that night from being in the lines and stuff like that. Like, it was really crazy. So I get back home and I was like, okay, so like all my neighbors in my area was leaving. Like, they were all leaving. So when I get back home, about maybe, I had been home maybe 30 minutes, my brother called me. He was like, hey, he was like, I just want to let you know, I'm about to pass your house and we getting on the road. I was like, wait, I thought you was hunking down too. What? He was like, Mama told me you were leaving. Daddy left. I'm leaving too. He was like, I'm passing your house. Do you want to ride with us? Mama told me you riding with your friends, but we leaving tonight, and I think you need to get out there tonight. Come on, I'm about to pull up, about to pick you up. I said, no. He was like, come on outside. I'm about to pass your house. So he called. He was like, come outside. I came outside, and I was like, hey. I was like, no, I'm good. Rolling with my friends. Tomorrow it's gonna be. He was like, you sure? We about to head out. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Y'all enjoy yourself. He was like, all right. So, kissed my nieces and nephews. They rolled out and they left. So that night, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sleep in the front room so I don't oversleep. Nothing happens, so I can make sure I get out of here. Cause like everybody I know is gone. So I'm laying on the sofa, and by now it's about 9 o'clock, and my phone rings. And so I answer the phone, and it's one of the other girls. It's supposed to be 4 of us in total that were leaving, 4 girls and the 3 kids. So one of the girls called, and she was like, hey, she was like, you leaving out? You evacuating? I was like, what you mean? I said, we supposed to roll with old girl tomorrow. And she was like, yeah, I know, but, I'm rolling with my family. Like, my family said they were heading out and they needed an extra driver, so I'm rolling. I was like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to be rolling. She was like, okay. She was like, I tried to call her, but her phone going to voicemail. I said, okay. I said, yeah, she got a lot of things she got to do. She got to get the kids together, We're going to be getting on the road about 5 in the morning. And she was like, okay, bet. She was like, all right. She was like, well, call me because we probably going to stop in. We either probably going to Atlanta or Texas. So call me. I was like, okay. I said, but I thought she talked to you about. She said she did. And I told her, yeah, I was, probably going to roll with y'all. And she had counted me in, but, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the family. Because they need more drivers, because when you driving, you sit in that traffic so long, and you need other drivers, so it just don't be like when one person out when you usually evacuate. So I was like, bet, we'll just talk to you later. So she was like, all right. So I started laying down to go to sleep, and then the other girl called, not the one I was driving. It was a third girl. She called. She was like, hey. She was like, what you doing? I was like, nothing. I said, just, about to get some sleep because we rolling out at 5. She was like, yeah, she told me. She said, but look, I ain't going to be able to roll out with y'all because my boyfriend came back in town and he came to get me, so I'm going to roll out with him. And I was like, okay, bet. I was like, she was like, but she told me where y'all going. Y'all going to stop in Jackson. So I'm headed up to Jackson. I'll meet y'all in Jackson. I said, bet. Okay, I hung up the phone. So then I called a friend who was driving. And I called her. And she was like, hey, girl. I said, hey. I said, we still rolling out at 5. She said, yeah. She said, why they so fake? She said, they fake and they rolling out without us. And I said, no, that ain't that something? She said, yeah, girl. She said, and I was relying on them because the money you gave me, actually I had to give some to one of her family members didn't have no money to evacuate, and she was like, and she was like, but now we're going to be comfortable in the car because her car was kind of small. She was like, for everybody to fit in, so, we'll all be comfortable. She said, but I gave some money to one of her family members because they didn't have no money to evacuate. And she was like, and I was hoping on them to give me some money so, we could be comfortable on the road. And I was like, girl, ain't no thing. I got my debit card, we could. She was like, but usually on the roads, heading towards certain places, there's no gas and there's no ATMs that you could use. They be out of money. And I was like, don't trip, got credit cards, whatever we need, we gonna be good. And she was like, okay, bet. So we hung up the phone. So I lay down and I go to sleep. So I set 3 alarms. So I set one for 4:30, 4:45, and 5 o'clock because I wanted to make sure I got up. So I went to sleep. So at 4:30, my alarm went off. So I jumped up and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sleep too much. So when I got up, I was like, let me make sure everything good. So I got up, brushed my teeth, got dressed or whatever, so we could roll out. So 5 o'clock came. I called her. Phone went straight to voicemail. Said, dang, she must have fell asleep with her phone dead. So I was like, speaking of, let me make sure I put my charger in my bag because, I didn't have my charger in my bag. So I did that. 6 o'clock rolled around. Call, went to voicemail. 7 o'clock call, went to voicemail. I said, this girl must have overslept. I said, you know what? I'm going to go hop in my car and I'm going to head to her house. I said, but I hate to do that because if I head to her house and she gone, we in trouble. Head to her house. She not there. But then they start blocking off streets. Because certain neighborhoods, you cannot come in and out when it's mandatory evacuation because they don't want nobody to loiter and all that stuff. So they started blocking off the streets. So I was like, so I talked to the cop when I came because he was blocking off my street. And I was like, wait, I got a friend of mine. She has 3 small kids. She coming to pick me up and we going to, evacuate together. He was like, ma'am, get to where you need to get and hunker down because the storm is coming tomorrow morning, middle of the night, but we don't want anybody, and there's going to be a curfew. So, whatever you need to do, because all the stores are closed. Everything is closed in this area. And I was like, I'm just going, I told him I had just went to ride to see if she was, home or whatever, but she wasn't home. So then I'm thinking, oh goodness, because there was like a lot of cars on the road, like people trying to leave at this point. Now it's about 8:30. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, now we could miss each other. Like she could be coming this way, I could be coming this way. So I'm still calling on my cell phone, still going straight to voicemail. I'm like, what if she didn't have her charger, her phone, because sometimes she'll lose her charger when her kids will take her charger and her phone will be like that. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So after I drove to the house, I came back and I'm like, so I said, let me leave a note on my door. I'm going to run by my daddy's house real quick because they were locking down my street to see, maybe if when she came to my house, I wasn't there, so she went to by my daddy's house. And so I went over there, and she wasn't there, so I left a note on my door to tell her, if she needs to call me, that she can call me using my neighbor's phone because my neighbor hadn't left yet. They said they wasn't leaving till noon. So did that, and then I came back, went over to my dad's house, whatever, to make sure, their house was straight. And so I left and to make sure she wasn't there. So I came back home. So I'm sitting there. So by this time, I sat down and I just started watching TV. And I'm like, I'm going to just wait. Stop panicking, just wait. I don't think she left you. She was gung-ho about us going. So I called one of the other girls that had gone on the road. And she was like, and I said, hey, did y'all make it to where y'all were going? She was like, yes. She was like, y'all on the road yet? I said, no, I haven't talked to her. She was like, girl, no. I said, yes. She was like, and you know what? When she was talking to me, she said the reason why I decided to hop in with my family, she was like, because she sounded like just y'all wanted to be together, like y'all had this whole itinerary planned out that y'all were going to Jackson, y'all were going to here, because she wanted to really go to Atlanta, the one we was talking to on the phone. She really, really wanted to go to Atlanta. But we wasn't even trying to check for Atlanta. So I understood why she actually said she was going to go with her family because she really wanted to go to Atlanta. So she was like, so, but she was like, have you been calling her? I said, yes. She was like, I'm going to keep trying to call her as well. I said, okay. So we hung up the phone. So then I called the other girl that left. And I'm like, hey. She was like, hey, y'all in Jackson yet? Because she was in Jackson. I was like, no, we're not in Jackson. I said, actually, I'm still waiting for her to call me back. She was like, girl, you lying. I was like, no. She was like, y'all need to get on the road like that. She was like, and you know you don't drive in the rain. And it's supposed to be going to rain about 1 o'clock in New Orleans. Well, I had a phobia after Katrina of driving in the rain. I do not drive in the rain. When it starts to rain, I pull over. And she was like, and there ain't no pulling over, ain't no hurricane. So, if, y'all need to, get on this road. And because if she ain't at your house at a certain time, then you need to get on the road. And I was like, girl, she coming. I ain't even tripping. So I was like, girl, bye. Because you do the most. So I hung up the phone with her. So then my sister called. And she was like, hey, where you at? Because mom said you're not with her, and let me guess, y'all headed to Atlanta, because she knew my other friend wanted to go to Atlanta. I said, no, actually, we're supposed to be going to Jackson and then to Texas. I said, but she's not here yet. I said, she must have overslept. And she was like, girl, she got 3 kids. She ain't oversleep. She was like, you need to call her, find out where she is, and or drive to her house and see if maybe she getting the kids ready and everything to get on the road, because maybe, she got to feed them and all that stuff. I was like, okay. So by this time, it's about 11 something. So I go get in my car. And I said, okay, let me make this run. One more time, tell these, because there's National Guards and police officers everywhere. I said, let me tell them that I need to make another run again, so they won't, tell me I can't come back to my house. So I get in my car, and when I get in my car, it started like dripping rain. I don't drive in no rain. I don't drive in drizzle rain. I don't drive in no rain. So I started almost getting a panic attack. I'm like, oh my God, it's about to rain. So I pick up the phone and I call her again. This time my phone rings. But it rings and then it rings 3 times and it goes to voicemail. So I call again, and so I wait 2 seconds. I was like, okay, she's coming. Good, because I don't drive in the rain. And so it started drizzling again. I'm like, so now I'm about to start hyperventilating. So I call her again. This time it goes straight to voicemail. It was like this time it was purposely sending me the voicemail. So I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So my mom called right when I was sitting there going, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. So my mom called. She was like, hey, where you at? And I said, I'm sitting in my car. She was like, are y'all on the road? And I said, no. I said, and it's starting to drizzle. I said, I'm not on the road. I don't know where she is. I called her. She's not answering the phone. She said, get on the road now. It's about to start raining. It should be raining in about the next couple of hours. Get on the road and head to your sister now. She was like, because you could sit your crazy self there and get stuck in the storm. Head there now. She was like, if she's coming, she got a car. You said she filled up. She got money. Get on the road and head to your sister now. So I said, okay. Because I was sitting in my car at this time. And I was like, okay. I need to run back upstairs and get my bag. And I'm going to go. So I got out the car and I go inside to get my bag. When I go inside to get my bag, it starts drizzling some more. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't drive in the rain. Oh my God. So I call her again. This time when I call her, her phone picks up and hang up. And I'm like, what is going on? I said, okay, I can't go check on her because it's drizzling. At this point, it's like a steady rain drizzle. And I don't drive in the rain. So I go inside, I pick up my bag. And I said, please, if it's meant for me to drive out here and I'm not going to get stuck, please let it stop raining. Let me get to my car and let me get to the interstate and get to Jackson with no harm or foul. I get my bag. I come back outside. I lock my door. I said, if it's raining, just come in here and I'm going to hunker down the storm. And literally, I just started crying. And I picked up my bag and I get to the car. I pick up my bag. I locked my door to my house. I started walking back to my car. When I started walking back to my car, it stopped raining. Like completely stopped. No drizzle, no nothing. It just stopped raining. So I get in the car and I start driving. And I'm looking in my rear view and it looks dark. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm driving. And If you ever been in a hurricane, it's like the calm before the storm. Like, it gets beautiful. And literally, when I got on that interstate, like behind me, got beautiful. And I just started driving. So when I start driving, my brother calls me. It was like, hey, it was like, it started contraflow. And contraflow is when they make all the vehicles go one way, both sides of the bridge. The bridges that come this way, the bridges that go that way. Everybody goes this way. And then when you get to an exit, they determine where you're going. Either you're going to Mississippi or you're going to Texas. Like, it's no, you don't have no say so. It's just getting you out of town. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, contraflow. He was like, yes, contraflow. He was like, try to stay closer to your left lane or you will be heading to Texas. So I said, okay. Well, I couldn't get over to my lane because, like, it was a lot of cars. So I'm like, so I'm stuck underneath the bridge. And he's stuck on this side of the bridge. And he's like, oh, man, I'm going to Texas. And I was like, he was like, you going to Mississippi, the way the contraflow is going. And I was like, oh, my goodness, okay. And he was like, but that's cool, it's cool. You know, I got my kids and stuff, we're going to be good. Because he was going to go by my sister as well. So he was like, well, I can't make it till, I said, tell her I'm sorry or whatever. I was like, okay. So we just sit in traffic, like stand still traffic, not moving. And it's beautiful outside. People getting out, walking around, you know, the different things. So he gets out the car and he runs over to me. And he was like, here you go. He had like snacks in his car, whatever. He was like, here, because you're going to be sitting here a while. I was like, okay, thank you. So I'm sitting there, whatever. And we start riding again. And when we start riding again, I get to the next exit. And because I'm this time I have to go to the restroom. So I'm like, oh, I need to get off at the next exit. I've been driving literally 3 hours. But it was like, usually you'll be in Jackson in 3 hours. But it was just bumping up with traffic. So I get off to go to the restroom. And when I get up to go to the restroom, I get out the car. And I pick up my purse. I don't have my purse. I only went inside and grabbed my backpack. I did not grab my purse. So literally, I have nothing. I have no money. All I have is my bag with clothes in it. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, I don't even know how far I am from my sister's house. None of that. Like, what? Let me just go to the restroom and, you know, get back. But I have a full tank of gas, so I'm Gucci. So I go use the restroom, and as I'm coming out of the restroom, my brother is pulling in. I'm like, hey, I said, I thought you was going to Texas. And he was like, nah, you know, I got around it some kind of way. I was like, oh, cool. I said, but I'm driving. I don't even have my driver's license number. He said, you know, do you have your driver's license number? I said, yeah. He's like, why? What happened? I said, I left my whole purse. I said, why are you out here this morning? He said, because we actually stopped and slept at another hotel in the city, and then we got on the road. He was like, I didn't get on the road yesterday. And I was like, oh. I said, I left my purse. And he was like, oh. He was like, here, you can't be driving with no money. So he gave me $100, and he was like, you know, and I was like, okay, I'll send it back to you when I get, you know, just pass back whenever we leave, you know, when we get to Jackson, there's, I could give it back to you or whatever. He was like, nah, you know, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then I'm thinking, how am I gonna get back to him when I get to Jackson? And I don't have an ID. So anyway, so I get back in the car. And when I get back in the car, we go back to get on the bridge. When I go back to get on the bridge, my brother, crazy, he goes and get on another ramp. There's like two ramps, one ramp to go here and one ramp to go south. He gets on a south ramp, and then the contraflow sends him to Texas. My contraflow sends me to Jackson. And I think he wasn't paying attention because he was actually behind me. And he was like, I think you're getting on the wrong one when he called me. I was like, no, I'm going to Jackson. He was like, oh, crap. But you can't turn around. So I was like, ain't nothing. What? So I finally get to Jackson. Actually, I got to Jackson in 45 minutes after I saw my brother. That's how close I actually was. Told my sister I got there in 45 minutes. And so when I got there, I was like, girl, I saw that was actually that's her twin brother. I said, I actually saw him. I said, and he was supposed to be following me. He thought I was getting on wrong, so he was laughing because he thought I was going to Texas. And luckily I wasn't, because remember, he handed me $100 bill. And luckily I wasn't, and he had gave me some snacks, so I didn't spend it or anything. So, but it was like, if I was headed to, which color, I had no ID, no nothing. I would have been sleeping in my car with a $100 bill, trying to live life, because I left my driver's license, everything. Nobody wouldn't let me get in the hotel room. So when I get to my sister's house or whatever, we just so happy that I made it there. And she called my brother. He was like, man, I thought I was headed there. She was headed to Texas. And so we laughing or whatever. So I'm sitting there, and I called my friend that went to Atlanta, and I was like, hey girl, I was like, she was like, hey, y'all made it? I was like, I made it. I said, I don't know where she is. She was like, really? She was like, oh, I'm worried. She was like, now I'm worried, because that's not like her. Like, she's not the type of person to do anything like that. That's not like her. She was like, I'm worried. She was like, and I'm gonna find out what's going on. She was like, I'll call you back. I said, okay. So she started calling around to try to find out where she is. So then the other girl that went, we had one that went to Atlanta, and the other girl that was in Jackson, she called me. She was like, hey. I was like, hey, I made it to Jackson. She was like, that's what's up, but I'm headed to Texas. I was like, what? You leaving already? She was like, girl, yes. She was like, I was going to wait for y'all, but y'all coming to Texas. I was like, no, I haven't talked to her. She was like, what? I was like, no, I haven't talked to her. She was like, wow. So I was like, but our other friend is going to call and find out what's going on, because I've been calling her and I don't know what's going on. She was like, oh, okay. So I hang up with them, and I'm socializing with my sister, we chilling or whatever, and my phone rings. And so my little niece is like, Auntie, your phone's ringing. So I was like, bring it to me. And she brought it to me. It was her, the one I had been waiting for. And I was like, hey, girl, hey. I was like, please don't tell me. Now my heart is sinking. I'm like, don't tell me I left her. Because now I'm thinking, oh, my God, I must have left her. Something must have happened, and I left her. So my heart's sinking. I'm like, hey, girl, hey. I was like, please don't tell me I left you, because I'm in Jackson. And she was like, you in Jackson? I was like, yes. She was like, me too. She was like, where you at in Jackson? And I said, North Jackson. She was like, oh, okay, I'm in South Jackson. I said, okay. I said, well, what happened? And she was like, I went with my kid's father. He was like, let's just go as a family. So I left with him. And I said, well, why you didn't tell me? And she was like, well, I was trying to call you, but just so much was going on this morning. No, she said so much was going on last night when we got on the road. Wait? She was like, yeah, but we're going to talk about it later, girl. I'm going to call you later, because there's a lot going on. It's a whole lot. I'm going to call you. I said, okay. So the storm blew past, didn't do no harm. They told us to come back. My job called me the next 2 days, told me I had to be to work. So I left Jackson and I headed back home. When I got back home, it started like raining as soon as I got into the city. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But it was like a quick shower. It went fast. So I got back home. And when I got home, I called. I said, hey, you back home? She said, yeah, girl, just pulling in, girl. I said, so what happened? We gonna talk, girl. We gonna talk. And she hangs up the phone. She said, I'm gonna call you back. I said, okay. To this day, we still haven't talked about it. No, we don't speak anymore. There's other things that happen. We don't speak anymore. But, yeah. And that's how some fake friends left. I know it's a long story. I'm probably going to have to break this up some kind of way. But, yes. So, stay tuned for more story times.